Welcome, everybody, to the Power of More podcast. I'm Travis Morrow. I am the CEO of Storelocal, and with us today, two gentlemen who really need no introduction, but I'm going to make you do it anyways. Dane Elefante and Lance Watkins. Guys, we're here to talk about Storelocal storage today, but before we get in, for everybody that is watching this video will recognize you guys and know who you are. But those listening to the podcast, Dane, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Dane Elefante, COO at Platinum Storage Group. I've been in the storage industry for over 20 years. I'm in a family business. We've grown as large as 125 properties, currently have, a 40 property portfolio and growing, and actively involved in the sector in management, acquisitions, development, consulting, you name it. You need help with storage, we're there.
Lance?
Awesome. Career storage guy. Started off in real estate development, still own stores in 5 or 6 states. Early tech adopter and founder of a number of companies like Charity Storage and Storage Treasures and Storage Outlet and Storelocal and Tenant Inc.
We're so creative at naming things in this industry.
Well, I'm proud of Storelocal though. That's mine.
So today, producer Emily has tasked us with a discussion that is very relevant to a lot of people interested in getting into the self-storage industry. And that is, let's pretend we just bought a new facility. And so when I say that to you, Dane, what is buying a new facility? What does that facility look like in your mind?
I mean, we're out there every day looking at tons of deals, and the deals that we're looking for ideally are, smaller mom and pop deals where, maybe they've given it their best effort to keep revenue high and to compete, but just the changing landscape has made it too difficult for them. So, ideally we're identifying properties that are under market on rates, on occupancy. We don't see the income like protection plan and even just regular late fees and lien fees that you typically see on the P&L. Not operating hours that work for people, not really tech forward. If you see an old website, you can't find live unit sizes, you can't find live prices, you can't rent a unit and move in. Those are the storage facilities that we want to own.
You looking for the same thing, Lance?
Yeah, well, I don't pretend it's tough for him because this is what you do all day long. But I'm so busy now that really the deals that I'm investing in are ones that friends or people that I've known for a long time, like Dane, brings along. I just don't have the time to do that. But I'm certainly interested in the backstory, right? But I'm way more interested in the forward story and how are they going to operate that facility? What are their skill sets? What tools are they going to use? What systems are they going to use? And that's really a big part of my decision making is who's sponsoring the deal and how are they going to run it?
Okay, so let's pretend, Dane. Mm-hmm. We picked up an ideal mom and pop scenario. Mm-hmm. Single store, been around for 25 years. There's opportunity, meat left on the bone, so to speak. What are the first things you're looking to do? Let's assume that they're running this via spreadsheet because those still exist. I saw one last week that I was like, God, we're still on spreadsheets. But what are you looking to do when you come in the day after closing?
I mean, there's some things that we're going to do before we close. What we're going to want to see is that there's leases in place, that those are matching the rent roll. That's often not the case, as you know. We've come in plenty of times where there's Excel, there's change of address on Post-it notes on the original lease. There's missing leases, which is the worst case scenario where you don't even know who to call, where to send a letter to. But what we're going to do right when we get in is we want to get everything sorted out. We want to, put a unit, renter to an address or a phone number. Sometimes that takes some time, and there's some tricks to getting them to show up to their unit or show up to the office that we know how to employ. But we want to get all of that straight first. But day one, we're going to put our lease in place because our lease is going to lay out, all the legal timelines, all the correct rates. We're going to send a letter. Really, the first thing we do is we send a letter and we say, hey, here's the new guys in town. We're adding all these things to the facility. We're going to make your experience this much better. No more coming in with checks and money to pay between the hours of 8 and 5. You can pay anytime online. You can set up auto pay. You can change your address online. You can move if you want to rent another unit. You can rent online, and a lot of people are really appreciative of that. They know there's change incoming. Like a lot of operators aren't doing liens. We find out that they're just emptying the units, or they're having people come in. So we're going to institute all the legal and all those type of processes, which is the boring stuff. But we're going to put the lease in place. We're going to roll out our protection plan. So that is, basically, adds coverage to all their units. It's another form of income, but it's also a way to reduce liability for the owner. And, in addition to that, we think about all the things just to get the facility in order. But day one, I'm going to be doing an awareness campaign on social media. It's going to be, hey, we're now Storelocal Storage. We're in town. We're renting units online. Here's what we have to offer. There's a new sheriff in town. Like, come rent with us. We're going to be doing paid ads day one, and we're going to start getting reviews on Google day one.
So you alluded to it a little bit just there, but mom and pop storage is not going to get it done for you. And second question, you guys are Platinum Storage, is your management company.
Absolutely.
But mom and pop storage is not gonna.
It's not gonna work. I mean, we threw our lot in a while ago with Storelocal because we knew, to be really competitive online and generate cheap organic leads, we needed to be with a lot of other operators under a single banner. So we joined, I think, when it was only like 50 properties, and we're hoping it'll scale up to hundreds and maybe thousands one day. But we knew to be competitive, we needed to work with other people. And so that is another thing. Day one, we're gonna bring a banner. It's gonna go over the sign. It's gonna say Storelocal. We're gonna be on Storelocal.com, generating those leads day one. Instead of starting out with a low ranking on Google, we're gonna be able to get that rank up really fast. So that's a huge tool in our tool set. And then obviously, just using the tenant platform and all the automation that's built into that, we're going to be laying that out the facility day one. So whereas people were probably manually sending out letters and manually setting reminders, all of that's going to be automated. Those letters are going to go out, emails are going to go out, texts are going to go out. We're going to rein in delinquency, do all the ABCs of really running a storage facility, while also using the same platform to bolster our presence online, get more online leads. And, we'll usually see like a doubling or tripling of leads very quickly in those scenarios.
So you actually found one on Excel?
Yeah. So we got an application in last week from Nantucket for Storelocal Protection. And one of the questions we ask on Storelocal Protection is, what software are you on? Excel was the answer.
I thought the only thing running on that was Dane's T-shirts at this point. But let me say something, because you triggered me. This is just a maybe like a little pro tip that a lot of people don't do. You're buying those properties; they maybe been run under market for a long time, and particularly if it's a one-off, it's usually pretty easy. Or if they're independent brands, usually you can own the brand. And if you're going to go in and be rather progressive in moving rates up right out of the gate,
right,
keep the mom and pop name as you're making all those transitions on the tech side and the rent increase side and all of those changes in the operations. If there's any negative reviews, let it sit on the domain that's about to die. Then come in with the new domain.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely done that in the past. And I like that you touched on revenue management, because I feel like the story that we always hear when we come in is, this is it. This is the best this storage facility can do. We look at our competitors' rates, we're adjusting our rates, and we just can't rent these units down the hallway or upstairs or whatever. And, we come into those situations with an open mind that they could be right. But the revenue management has just been an absolute game changer. I mean, last year, I'd say 60% of our gains are managing our street rates and doing existing customer rental increases. So when we come into a scenario like this, another thing that we're doing day one is the value pricing and really figuring out, what are the high demand units, and can we be competitive with those units on price with the rest of the market? And what are our less competitive units, and how are we going to move those? And once those are like more occupied, where can we get to on an actual street rate and an in-place rate? So the revenue management's a big deal, and we usually find 10 to 15% in rental income that we can pick up in the first 6 or 8 months just with value pricing, doing existing customer rental increases and getting our street rates up. But in order to get your street rates up, you have to have leads. You can't just take the existing demand and say, I'm going to change my pricing
magically
today.
create occupied units. Out of thin
Exactly.
air.
So you
Yeah.
have to fill those units, and you have to have enough demand for those units to be able to push the price up. Whereas a lot of the smaller operators who are just operating on their own brand, no software platform, they just don't have the volume it takes to actually push your rates up, because you're so occupied on those units.
Yeah,
So,
they're in field of dreams mode. If you build it, they will come, and that's the extent of their operational ability.
yeah.
Right, and the the what you do with the tools is important, right? Like Dane and I have both portfolios in multiple states, but the majority of our stuff's in California. I just finished my partners just finished our investor report for our 4 funds, and I don't know, B plus A minus. I feel like for 25. If I compare to your results, we're not doing as good. Now we're running the same platform. You're running a couple different tools than I am, and I know the difference, right? You're doing a better job nurturing the leads than we are, and you have a more advanced revenue management system. So I can see it in the numbers across to 1.5 million square feet.
Yeah, what I found too, going back to like the B and C product, is I do have B and C product in A markets, and we are in certain markets, we are market leaders on units that people don't absolutely actually like. Like you have lifts at some of your locations. Customers love lifts,
I have dogs
right?
with fleas, and I have Taj Mahals.
Yeah, so
Both.
Customers hate lifts, but in some markets,
Especially when they fall off them.
Yeah, especially in some markets where you have upstairs climate that you're competing with. That's the closest thing to your upstairs lift product. And we're in the same price range as them, or we're close to them. Now, maybe some of them are newer, but we're surrounded by Public, Extra, Cube. We're the Storelocal in the area. We're on the tenant stack. What I think we're doing better is we're watching our rate management. We have a better strategy for it, in my opinion. They might, if they were here, they might have their own opinion on that. But we are market leaders in a number of different types of unit types in that market. You can be the small guy and compete.
Well, that's what Storelocal Storage is out to prove. I mean, the whole concept of the power of more, taking it back to the title of the podcast, is that while remaining an independent operator like you with 40 stores and you with your 20x stores, flying under the same flag, so to speak, provides a little more leverage no matter what size operator you are.
Yep.
But I think it's changed since you took over.
Yeah,
right?
I think when we came in, he kind of knew that there probably was some juice in there still, but like the results have been just well beyond our expectations. It's a property in Southern California, and within
with REIT.
Yeah,
competition.
surrounded by REITs. I don't think there's a single mom and pop operator in that market. And we were able to increase revenue by over 80% in a little under 2 years. So it just gives you an idea of the scale of the impact that you can have. I couldn't promise that on every deal. We know that.
Never.
I wish I could go out and I could buy every deal.
Under promise, over deliver.
Yeah, and it's been very fortunate, but I think it's a testament to what tenants been building with Storelocal, that we can go into a market like that and we can kick ass.
Yeah.
So again, I believe in the first 6 or 8 months, if I can get a mom and pop, I can add 10, 15, maybe 20%. And that's just, with rent management, being on Storelocal, being on the right tech and all that. But there are those scenarios where you buy something and there's real blue sky there. And it's not just there that we've seen it. We've seen it even in certain facilities where maybe we've even been there for a few years. And then we, tweaked our tech and we tried some new things with revenue management. And then we're having, year over year 10% growth, which is excellent for a property that you're already running.
Especially right now. That's blowing the REITs out of the water.
Yeah, I believe you guys can both correct me on this, but I'm pretty sure, at least in the reporting that I've seen in the first 3 quarters of last year, maybe you had 0.1% same store growth or negative for a lot.
Correct. Yeah, it's not blowing anybody away by any means. And there are a ton of reasons for that, and we can save that for a different podcast. But Lance, going back to our newly acquired mom and pop facility, those are the kind of deals that there are thousands of people salivating over that can't wait to get in and do a lot of the things that we're talking about. Why do you think mom and pop still running on Excel, didn't pull the trigger to start implementing some of those opportunities themselves?
You know, I I have pretty strong feelings on this. You know, I got into storage in the 90s, so I've been doing this for a while. Demand has always outstripped supply for the most part for 60 years, you know, a solid 45 years in this industry. It never created the need to be good, right? Like the restaurant that sits right on the beach in Laguna, the food's usually pretty bad.
If you build it, they will come.
You know, there's plenty of competition there, and therefore, if you don't develop those skill sets in running your business, it's pretty hard to adapt, or you start believing that you're a genius. And I just couldn't have missed, and I could have done another 30, 40 deals that I was just too conservative on that would have been fantastic that I passed on. And so I just don't think they're hungry. They've made more money than they ever thought they would make, and generally they didn't have to adapt and learn tech. And so that puts them at a big disadvantage now, even though they are coming to the realization that their customers are demanding it. But it's kind of time for them to walk away.
Well, I would say too, and Lance, I want you to respond to this, is I think it is like self-storage is an operating business layered over storage, and that operating business is dependent on your tech. You can only be as good as your tech in the self-storage industry, period. You can do little things operationally to enhance tech that can't get you there and have bridges and
or you choose bad tech, right? And what you're saying is something that we were business coached recently, kind of to the Captain Obvious stuff, but it took a business coach maybe to spell it out to us. The world has changed. You and I, we compete in markets, but I would argue that we don't compete. Our real estate, you have one there, I have one over here. It's our systems that are competing. And now we can manage our systems differently than each other, or we can choose sometimes different systems. But honestly, those are the things that are finding and nurturing customers and managing customers and reputation management and in-place rent and promotion and street rates, or rents and rates. Those are all tools now. And that's what's competing now.
And as you're saying that too, and going back to like the discussion we've already had about rate management and everything, is all of these systems are giving you data, and it's data we never had. If you were to ask the site manager 10 years ago, what percentage of customers move out when you do a rental increase, what was that percent that they tell you?
Yeah, it depends.
All of them?
Yeah. or go a little deeper. You talk to customers on the phone all the time. What's their sentiment? Are they happy when the conversation is over? Did they start happy? Did they go from happy to not happy? Did they go from not happy to happy? They don't have any of that information.
And same thing when I'm doing revenue management. I can see how many units I've rented of a specific unit type, of a specific amenity in that month. And I can tell if there's velocity and demand building for that. Right. What did we ever have? We never had that stuff.
And one thing I want to pass along here, because and it's funny, even though I say this all the time, I think people think that I believe, tech runs everything. It doesn't, right? But it now can, particularly now, it can escalate the right problem or opportunity to the right person within your company incredibly quickly, and you can measure the results very accurately. We couldn't do that.
Yeah, I mean,
I know
now
every task.
Yeah, right now, even going back to the existing customer rental increases, I know for a fact that over the last 18 months, for every rental increase I've done, only 1.8% more tenants move out from those rental increases. So call it 2 out of 100 people. than my base.
Yeah.
And you look market to market. I could see in this market my churn is 5% or 3% or 4%. None of us had those numbers. Like, yeah, we could go back and we could like brute force the math, but we didn't have the time.
Just and figuring out your organic churn, right? We all have churn. We would only have the same set of customers that moved in day one if we didn't, right? We know that our customers stay 18 or 22 months or whatever it is in your space on average. That organic number needs to be understood for you to even understand that 1.8% delta. And you're not going to do that on Excel unless you have one store and that's what you do all day.
Well, but going back to what you were saying about just the data, I was sitting here thinking, we've always been on, or at least our company's always been on some kind of property management software, even if it was Taskmaster back in the day. We were gathering data as operators, but it's only been recently, and I'm talking in like the last 3 or 4 years, that we've actually ever been able to visualize and really do anything with it. The REITs, they've got big budgets, data scientists, the whole deal. They've been playing that game a little longer than we have, but the data was there. We just had no functionality to look at it.
The good news on the REITs, though, some of them entered to the data space early on, and so they're already on outdated systems and tools and legacy, and they're not good at changing, right? They don't turn that ship very easily. And somebody brand new coming into the industry with a few stores can be playing in data places that are better than what the publics have. I know people don't believe that, but it's absolutely true. And the core reason that data is so important, and data is so important, but I think everybody thinks data is, what is my customer's rents? That's so trivial today. The data of how you're operating, and the data that if you can make changes in your business daily, weekly, monthly, and see the impact, is what the value of data is. And I like to, my explanation for the last year or so has sort of been the same. All I care about is finding a new customer, moving them in, optimizing and managing them, and having a great experience with them, and looking at this big movie that's playing on the back wall of live data that shows me exactly what's going on with all of my real estate, and being able to make a decision. Don't push far enough, push too far, make an adjustment. That remember that advantage we have in this market is that month-to-month lease. So it's not like pushing your anchor tenant out because you made a mistake. You don't have that problem here. But if you don't have that movie playing, you're kind of just guessing. And there's a lot of people in this industry that are guessing and thinking.
A lot of stories on what's happening, I feel like, versus real data.
You take those stores you take them over all the time. There's always a story of how good they are.
Why we can do rent increases, why we can move our street rents up, even, I mean, one of the reasons that we first came to like Hummingbird and Tenant was lead attribution. I mean, that's kind of been like the golden grail. Everyone wants to know, if they spend money online, how do they acquire their lead? How do they go through the process of actually getting to a rental? Do they land on your website reserved? Do they click to call off Google?
The full customer journey.
The full customer journey. If I'm spending, the average spend is like $30,000 plus now on marketing. So, and maybe not for some of these mom and pops, because a lot of them aren't spending the money, but if you're in a competitive market, you're spending that. And how are my dollars being used? What is my ROI for each tenant that I rent to? But we couldn't even say where we were getting our tenants from. We couldn't even say what leads were.
We sometimes could say they came from the internet, which is not, a super broad area really, but that was as close as we could get, right?
Yeah.
It was the internet or the phone.
Yes, or walk
drive-by.
Or drive-by, yeah.
Drive-by.
One of those three. But so we're going to wrap this up here, but so let's imagine that, all right, we closed on the store, we're on the new software platform, tech enabled, the signs out front, nice big green Storelocal storage signs. What is your expectation of the next 12 months for that facility? What does that look like?
Hold on, I want to start because he's an operator. I'm a tech guy now. So we have sort of different roles when it comes to the storage side. I have some asset management roles and some real light property management stuff, but I'm day-to-day tech. It's so easy for me now. I won't do an investment with anybody without the first qualifying factor in that you're going to come on the brand. And I'm not offended if you're not. It's just not for me, because as an investor, all I'm trying to do is optimize my return. Right? If I give Dane $500,000, like, I just want to know that I'm going to get the best return I can. And I know through data that if you're not in a really good system run by good people, people are so important, that are honest, I am not going to maximize my return. So I will not give a single check out. And it's not because I'm trying to bring money back. I'm just looking at it as an investor. And it's just changed my outlook. And I have not done a deal in the last 5 years that hasn't lived up to that equation. Mm-hmm. And I've never had a no.
So what are you thinking at from the operator side, Dane? What are the next 12 months for this new facility look like?
We walked through the beginning. It's kind of like getting your room clean when it hasn't been clean.
Now the room's clean.
So I think what you're looking for next is opportunities to exploit. So like, you have your protection plan in, you're charging your fees, your tenants have gotten used to the system, they're happy, you're getting reviews. We expect 50% of everyone that walks through the door to leave us a review. We know how important that is. Every time you buy off Amazon, whether they're real or not, you're reading those reviews and you're making a decision off of it. But I think we're looking for opportunities in the market to exploit. Usually we see those prior to going into the deal and we already know what they are.
Right.
But we also have to let the data tell us too. We might have thought that we were like the cream of the crop because we're all climate, downstairs, whatever, but we actually find out that the market, maybe it was a lease-up property, so we didn't have a full picture. Hey, everyone loves big units, and maybe I'm going to reconfigure units, and let's see how high we can go, and let's beat out the competitors with any amenities that we might be able to add that are easy to add, just more security, Bluetooth locks, like we use Nokia at all the locations that, even going in, making sure the staffing makes sense and everything. But, we want to, on the units where we know that we have something, that it's something that the market truly wants. We want it to make it convenient to access. We want to have an excellent experience for them, like start to finish. We want to compete online and beat everyone out, and we want to be a price leader in those units. For maybe the less desirable units, we want to find a way to get those to market stabilization.
Right. We could do three podcasts on spaces, and I hate calling them units anymore, spaces. Mm-hmm. But I am absolutely certain that we're still building the same product we built 50 years ago, pretty much. For if you think of what we call space mix, right? Mm-hmm. It's the same product. The market's changed. And we haven't. And it's because nobody has the data. Mm-hmm. But it's changed. Mm-hmm. I would not build the next property the same way I built the last property. Mm-hmm. Not just in space mix, but several other things too. Mm-hmm. But I would be in larger spaces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wanted to, I know we're out of time, but one thing I wanted to go back to is what we were talking about. And it's so true, because I feel like storage was a build it and they come. There was a little bit of an operating business element, but now it's all, keep
the trash out of the.
Drive-by is nice. But people are going to go search for prices online, amenities. You better have good pictures of your facility on there, good reviews. The operating business has gotten so much bigger compared to the actual real estate. And then what tech is doing that's so interesting right now is so much of the sales and the pricing and we're closing a lot of our deals on our website now. People are just moving straight in. So much of that's being automated away that the maintenance of the facility is becoming a bigger part again.
It is.
And the tech is a huge part too.
Back to the old school property management, because the systems are doing so much. And let's see where AI lands, but I think our websites may be on life support. Right? Yeah, they may be our yellow pages right now.
And again, now that tech's a bigger thing, and the reason that we kind of hooked our wagon to tenant is nobody was building any features in the industry, and my operating business is only as good as my tech. And if my tech isn't adding new features that I can exploit to be competitive, then I'm just like everybody else. I want to be ahead of everyone else. Whenever a tenant releases something, I'm going, how can I use this in some way, either at a corporate level to be more efficient or to compete with everyone?
Yeah, they certainly weren't building it with the operator in mind. Mm-hmm. It was, here's our new little widget. Use it or don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like it to do it this way. Also don't care. Use it, or don't. So that's why Tenant is here, is because it's us building this for ourselves.
It was a lot of no's that led to us saying we'll do it ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's how we got here.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, gentlemen, both for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening to the Power of More podcast. I'm Travis Morrow, and we'll see you at the next episode.